Death is like the wind, always by my side.
What is up, guys? Today we were going over the Yasuo build paths in 13.15, kind of like we just did on the Yone channel. So it's going to be very similar, but there are some differences, so I wanted to make a for this too. And we haven't done this for like 10 patches, and I feel like I should be doing this like every couple patches, especially if things change. Because again, like people are so lost. They're still building Shiv, they're still building Gale Force, so yeah, let's get into it. So first it starts, as we know, Doran's Blade. I would never go D-Shield on Yasuo, except for like no, especially in low elo, never take it. This is more of a Yone item. Yasuo is way more aggressive, so I would not go D-Shield. There are niche scenarios in high elo, like I've seen pzzzang and other high elo go like D-Shield in a Jace. That's really hard early. And it's like permatrade level 1. But that's not really valid lower elos, so I don't want to see D-Shield ever, because even me in my challenger games almost always go D-Blade, so yeah. Definitely D-Shield is more of the Yone routes, but even in low elo, if you're playing Yone, I'm not gonna go, to be honest. But yeah. So first, second item, Kraken or Bork. Again, if there are a lot of tanky champions, then you go Bork. If there are not a lot of tanky champions, you go Kraken. But honestly, for Yasuo, Kraken is way better. Like Bork is more of a Yone item. I see myself almost never going Bork on Yasuo, just because if they are tanky, Kraken actually feels kind of better in a way, because obviously Yasuo's ult does a lot of armor pen only if you have crit. So let's say you're against a Poppy who built like 150 armor. You rush Bork into her, you ult her, you get no armor pen. So at that point, Kraken would just be doing more damage. So again, like Bork is more of a Yone thing, but I mean, if you're playing top lane Yasuo and you're against like a Jax, like a Malphite, I guess Bork would be better just for the lifesteal in the 1v1. But yeah, if you're playing mid, bot Yasuo, almost never Bork. I would go Kraken. Like, so if you watch the Yone video, we had Even Shroud here. Even Shroud on Yone is kind of like troll to me. I don't really like. I'm not gonna call it troll. I just don't really like it. But it's even worse on Yasuo. So I'm not even gonna put it on the list. I don't like it. No, don't play Yasuo like that. Especially not in like lower elo games. Don't do it. Okay, so IE, again, like the damage options for Yasuo feel a lot better. Yone can get away with going like Bork into Iceborne in some games, or Bork into Hullbreaker. It feels way worse on Yasuo, because Yasuo needs damage. He doesn't have Yone E. Yone E makes up for the lack of building damage, right? So, for the most part, I would go Kraken IE almost every game. If you don't like not having lifesteal, it's acceptable to go Kraken Bloodthirster. Again, I still think it's worse than IE. IE is just so much more damage, so I would try to just get used to not building or not like having to need that crutch of lifesteal. So yeah, IE second almost every game in my opinion. Just get that 100% crit, so much damage, and then worry about getting tanky afterwards. But again, there are some Yone players, Yasuo players that have been going Kraken Bloodthirster like Gale Force. If you like that playstyle, you can do it. I think that's a lot worse in lower elos though. I think in low elo, what's important is just getting the highest scaling build that is going to 1v9 the hardest. And if you want 1v9, definitely IE. I put Iceborne on the list just because if they are really all AD, like they're 5 AD, you can go like Kraken to Iceborne. Personally, I don't like tank mythics. You could give it a try. But again, I would just go a more damage route on Yasuo. But again, if there are, like you're against like a Zed plus a Rek'Sai, maybe Iceborne second can save you. Definitely give it a try. But I almost never build this. Hullbreaker, only top lane, would not build this mid lane. Usually in a Bork build. So let's say you're against a Jax as Yasuo top. You want like the best dueling potential that you can to play the lane, right? So Bork into Hullbreaker may be a good idea into lanes like Jax, or like super hard lanes like, well, I was gonna say Fiora, but the armor and MR would do nothing. Probably not her. But yeah. And then we have Shieldbow second. I think Shieldbow second is like very acceptable. If you're against like all champions who like one-shot you and they're all squishy, like Zed, Evelyn, kind of like Yone, as I said, you can just go Kraken to Shieldbow. Like that's perfectly fine, and then go IE third. Or even Gale Force third. I feel like you don't need the damage because they're all squishy. So yeah, all these are acceptable. Mostly just these three as a third item or second item. But for me, personally, I go IE second almost every game. Okay, now we have the third item. After you choose your first two items, you can pick between... the only one that's overlapping is Shield Bow, so didn't go... So again, as I said in the Yone video, the main build that pzzzang has been doing, Kraken IE Shield Bow. Personally, I think that's way too squishy. I don't really like it. But I think is better is Kraken IE Sterix. Sterix gives you that massive tankiness, 450 extra health. It's less damage and no lifesteal, but I think the extra tankiness is just way better so you don't get one shot. Because let's be honest, if you have Kraken IE, why do you need more damage on Yasuo? That's already so much. So what I feel is you need something that will make it so you don't get one shot. Sterix definitely does the job. And Sterix is especially good if they're like mixed damage, like 2 AP, 3 AD. So then you just have like the shield, it helps against all damage. But let's say they're all AD. You want to go Kraken IE. Kraken IE, they're all AD, just go Death Dance. Obviously it's going to be better than Sterix, just because this gives you so much value. The Death Dance passive is so OP. Yeah, you don't have to worry about magic damage in that case. Or let's say they're all AP, then we can go Maw or Witsend third. I don't really know which one's better. Personally, I haven't really gone either because almost never, at least in challenger games, people go like 4 AP. But if they have 4 AP, you could feel free to go Maw, Witsend, but again, probably won't happen too often. And then last but not least, for third item, we have Gale Force. Personally, I think Gale Force is really dead. They nerfed it like 3 times. But let's say a scenario where you're against a very hard to get to team. You have no knockups, and you just need to get onto them to one-shot them. So instead of going like IE, you could just go Kraken and Bloodthirster into Gale. So you still have a lot of damage, but you're getting that gap close. It's a little bit less damage without the IE for sure, but sometimes you just don't need it. So let's say you're against like a Zed plus a Zeri or something. Can't get in range, got no knockups, get the Gale Force. Go like Kraken, Shield Bow, Gale Force. And then for the final items, they don't really change. It's the same old. Let's go for the ones that like are never used. So Thornmail, only really want this. You almost like never want this, but let's say no one on your team built anti-heal and they have like Soraka, Swain, something like that, and like a lot of AD. You could build this, or you could build Mortal, but I don't really think it's good. Or a tanky item as a fifth item is better. So you could build this very rarely. I play this game like 10 games a day. I never have to build. Probably never have to build this. Black Cleaver only if they're like super tanky or it's like a Malphite Rammus. I don't know if you did. I don't know why you didn't dodge if you're in that scenario, but let's say you didn't. You can go Black Cleaver. It's perfectly fine. Especially if no one on your team is building it. There's also Deadman. So Deadman is an item that's actually better on Yasuo than Yone because Yone doesn't really have to worry about like getting kited because he has way more mobility in his kit. But let's say you just like want an armor item that gives you health, and you're just getting kited way too easily. Again, those scenarios where against like Zed, Zeri, you want that movement speed. Deadman's is really good in that scenario, right? So if you want the movement speed, you're getting kited. You want the armor, Deadman's a very, very solid choice. On the flip side, Force of Nature is basically the same exact thing, just if you need MR. So it's the same thing as Deadman's. If you're getting kited too much, just go Force of Nature instead for the MR and movement speed. What else do we have? QSS or Silmer Dawn. If you're going a QSS item because you're against a Malzahar, you got to pay the QSS tax. Garner, all those champions that have no counterplay unless you build QSS. Go Silmer Dawn gives you way more tankiness than the other one, Scimitar, and a little less damage. But at this point in the game, you don't need more damage. You just want some more tankiness, and the active is way better. You basically get tenacity for like 3 seconds after, whereas the other one just gives you movement speed for 1 second. So a way better item for QSS option. Okay, Randuin's. Randuin's, you're only going to go if they have more than one crit user. So let's say you're playing Yasuo into like a Yone plus AD carry who has crits, 2 crit users. Randuin's is very good. You're going to negate a lot of damage. Especially since they just buffed it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they buffed it last patch. It even does less, gives you more resistance of crits. So if you're ever against 2 crit users, very solid armor item for sure. Bloodthirster is just a very solid item as like a 5th item. Just a lot of damage, a lot of lifesteal if you're already lacking it. So again, if you want like the Kraken IE Sterix BT builds, or Kraken IE Sterix and you want Death Stands, Bloodthirster may be a really good last item, especially if they have no MR. Very solid. Give you some lifesteal at the end. GA, a very solid item if you just want. If you're against those team comps where like you just need to ult in, do your damage, but you know you're gonna die, GA is just very solid for that. Or if you're like low on income, you just want as a fourth item games with the end, a really important fight's about to happen, you can't afford anything else. GA is really good, and obviously stopwatch is a very good buffer item for those fights. And last item we have on the list is Spirit Visage. Spirit Visage actually just got buffed, so it's actually the item that gives you the most tankiness as an MR item, especially if you're going a more lifestealy build and shield build. So let's say you ended up on a build like Kraken, Bloodthirster, Sterix, or something. Let's say you just don't like IE, you got a lot of lifesteal, shields, and you have a Soraka and Ivern on your team or something. Visage in that scenario would be really, really, really strong. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that covers all the items. Hopefully I didn't miss any. Okay, now we have this one for fun. This one's kind of troll. I haven't really tried it out, but I wouldn't do this on Yone. But for Yasuo, low key has some potential. Let's say you're against a comp that's like Evelyn plus a Zed. I know I use that example a lot. I don't know. I just can't think of another. Or like Evelyn Kiana, where no matter what you build, you're gonna die in one hit. So maybe just ult in, kill someone, and then you're invincible. So obviously they're nerfing this item, so probably don't do it after it gets nerfed. But low key has some potential. It's gonna look very funny. I think some Yasuo Yone players have actually been building it in Korea. Yeah, if you just feel like there's no counterplay, armor items are useless, go Dustblade, ult in, invincible. Try it out. And then for the no, please stop building this item. It is so incredibly awful. It does nothing. You're just gonna clear the whole wave and then lose your dashes. Like, what is the point of this item? What does it do better than Kraken? Does less damage, same cost? Please. I have been getting this question the past, like, since the rework of the items, which has been, like, I don't even know how long. It's been months, man. Please stop asking, is ship good? No. Please no. And then I just listed 2 potential full builds. So we have the Bork builds. Let me take out the Even Shroud. Don't build on Yasuo, please. I mean, they've been building on Yasuo, but I think it's awful. We have Bork into Shield Bow, Bloodthirster, Death Dance. Then you could end the build with, like, some sort of MR item. Again, I don't really like Bork on this champion. You could go like Hullbreaker, second 2 if you're top lane, which honestly the only times you're gonna build Bork is probably top lane. So maybe Bork, Hullbreaker, Shieldbow, and some Mythic. But again, I wouldn't really go Bork on Yasuo, especially if you're playing mid bot. Not very solid. And even if you're against tanks, Kraken just does the job better, getting that 100% crit 2 items. And then potential Kraken build. This is what I've been doing most games. I won't say you have to do this every game, but so Kraken, IE, Sterix, Death Stance. I just put Force of Nature if you need some MR. Honestly, even Bloodthirster here would be really good. A lot of lifesteal, a lot of damage at the end. But yeah, again, like, don't copy what you see. Like, every game is different, okay? If you feel like you don't need the IE second, they are all squishy, replace it with the Shield Bow, and then you can go IE or something. Then, like, Death Stance, Gale Force or something, you know? So, just don't... It's really hard. That's why this video was a little hard to make. Hopefully it's not too messy. But I'm trying to explain it the best I can. Because there's just, like, so many different, like, variables, different outcomes of what you want to do. But if you really want to build that's just, like, every game is never bad, Kraken, IE, Sterix, Death Stance, Bloodthirster. Can't go wrong with that build. Gives you everything. Obviously, don't go Death Stance if they, like, have no... Obviously, we should know that. But yeah, hopefully this helped some of you guys, and please stop building Shiv. Please build it. Please. I don't know how many times I have to say it. I've got death threats for saying don't build it. I don't know why. People love this item. But yeah, please do not build it. But yeah, hopefully this guide helped you a little bit, and let me know if you guys want me to keep doing these and if they help you. And yeah, we could just keep doing them like every single couple patches. Obviously, only if like items change. If items don't change in the next patches, no point of saying the same thing. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, just let me know if you want to see more of them if items do change. Yes, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.